Okay guys, today we're going to be learning all about the structure of the eye and the conditions that can affect its function. This is just for the triple biologists studying AQA GCSE triple biology today. So let's get into the video and let's smash those exams. Now, let's take a look at the structure of the eye first of all. Now, at the front of the eye, we have the cornea. It's a transparent layer and it refracts the majority of the light into the eye. And refract is another word for bend or change the angle of the light. Now, the sclera is a tough, white, outer protective layer. And if you ever do a dissection of the sclera, you'll realise it's very tough. And I don't know about you, but I'm glad my sclera is tough so that my eyes are strong. Now, the iris, next of all, it's a little muscle at the front of the eye. And the whole purpose of the iris is that it's got two sets of muscles that control the diameter of the pupil to let more light in dim light conditions and less light in bright light to protect that retina. Now, the lens focuses light onto the retina, and the retina is full of specialized light receptors. Next of all, we have the ciliary muscles and suspensory ligaments. Their role is to change the shape of the lens so that light can be focused onto the retina. We have the optic nerve at the back of the eye there, and that carries electrical impulses to the brain. Now, let's take a little look at the iris reflex now, because you need to know this in and out for that triple biology exam. Now, the iris narrows the pupil to protect the retina from bright light. And when light receptors detect bright light, the circular muscles contract and the radial muscles relax. Now, this contraction of the circular muscles and relaxation of the radial muscles makes the pupil smaller. And we can see in my diagram at the top right, we've got an example of the radial muscles and the circular muscles there as well. Now, I've got a handy way of remembering this because it can be very tricky. Think about it. When circular muscles contract, this covers the retina. Circular begins with a C and covers begins with a C, so CC. Circular contract to cover the retina. Now let's have a look at the opposite. When light receptors detect dim light, the circular muscles relax and the radial muscles contract, and this is going to make the pupil wider to let in more light. This helps us see in dim light. Now, the opposite happens here. So in dim light, the radial muscles contract and this reveals the retina. So think RR, when the radial muscles contract, this reveals the retina. CC, when the circular muscles contract, this covers the retina to protect it. Let's look at focusing on near and distant objects now. Now, to focus on a near object, the lens becomes thicker, and this allows the light rays to refract, as I said earlier, bend more strongly. The ciliary muscles will contract, which loosens the suspensory ligaments, and the lens then becomes more fat or curved to refract the light more strongly. Now, this increases the refraction of light because it'll be a sharper angle, and it will focus it at this bottom diagram on the retina at the back of the eyeball, where all of those important light receptors are, so that they can carry those electrical impulses through the optic nerve to the brain for processing. Now, if we need to focus on a distant object, the lens is pulled thinner, and this allows the light rays to refract slightly, so to a lesser extent. And here, the ciliary muscles relax, which we can see at the top and bottom of the lens, which tightens the suspensory ligaments, and it pulls that lens long and thin with a lower angle. So the lens becomes thin or less curved, and this decreases the refraction of light so that we can look at those distant objects with light shining directly on our retina. Now, there's a couple of vision defects you need to know about, and this is in the specification. So for long-sighted people, this means they are unable to focus on near objects, and we call this condition hyperopia. Now, hyper means more or higher, and if we look at it, the point in the diagram where those light rays actually come to a point is behind the retina. It's too far away, hence the term long-sighted, because we can't see things short, but we can see things further away. Now, the lens is simply the wrong shape and does not refract the light enough, or the eyeball could be too short, so the point where those light rays focus is beyond the eyeball. Now, the image is brought into focus behind the retina, which is a problem, and we can treat this. We can treat this using convex lenses. and they're lenses which curve outwards, which can correct this defects. And I'm going to show you a little image of a convex lens now. And you can see that it curves outwards, it almost bulges out so that we have more refraction of the light to make those light rays converge on the retina. Now let's look at the opposite condition, and this is short-sightedness. This is where people can't see things far away, so you might see someone moving a book close to their face to bring it into focus. Now short-sighted people are unable to focus on distant objects, and this is called myopia. The lens is the wrong shape again and refracts the light too much, or the eyeball is simply too long, so the point where those light rays converge is in front of the retina. So the image, as we would say, is brought into focus in front of the retina. Now, concave lenses can correct this defect. And just a little bit of revision here, remember looking at red blood cells, how they have a biconcave shape? We'll take a look at this concave lens, and we can see that it curves inwards just like a red blood cell. And that's going to allow light rays to focus directly onto the retina and bring images into focus. Now there's some treatments for vision defects that you need to be aware of. We've spoken about lenses in terms of glasses. Now let's have a look at contact lenses. Contact lenses are thin lenses that sit on the surface of the eye, so on top of that cornea, and they're shaped to focus light correctly. Soft lenses are more comfortable, but they do carry a higher risk of eye infection than harder lenses. Laser eye surgery is another option that people can go for, and a laser can be used to vaporize tissue, changing the shape of the cornea. This will slim it down to make it refract light less, and it can improve short-sightedness. And also changing the shape so it refracts light more strongly can improve long-sightedness. But there is a risk of complications such as infection with this surgery. Now, another option is replacement lens surgery. And this is where the natural lens of the eye is surgically removed, so taken out of the eye, and an artificial lens made of clear plastic is inserted in its place. This of course carries higher risks than laser eye surgery, including infection and damage to the retina, because we're actually going inside the eyeball here, and this could cause sight loss. Right guys, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.